What is patriotism? It derives originally from the Greek word for father and is understood to mean attachment to the fatherland. Some say motherland. I prefer to say homeland. A sense of attachment to the homeland. Where does it come from, this sense of belonging, this attachment? Is it nature or nurture? Human biology or human culture? In fact, it most likely begins in human biology. That means genetics. Humans evolved as social creatures dependent upon each other for survival. Humans with a strong drive to stick together and care for each other had a better chance of surviving and passing on their genes. Early humans were social creatures. The urge to belong is part of human nature. It's also part of meerkat nature and wolf nature, elephant nature, bat nature. Lots of species are social creatures. But they aren't patriotic. This picture is fake. As humans became more and more conscious thinkers, they looked for answers to the big, scary questions. What am I? What is my purpose in life? The group provided some answers. You are one of us. We help each other survive. In fact, for many pre-modern humans, to be human meant to be part of a group, meaning a member of an extended family or band or tribe. To be excluded from society, an outcast or exile, a slave, a hermit, was to be not fully human. Ponder that sometime. You cannot be totally alone and still be fully human. This all sounds pretty positive so far. A biological desire to belong to a mutually supporting group which provides identity and meaning to the self-conscious mind, an emotional, psychological attachment to a sacred group. And then culture comes along and screws it all up. What I mean is that in modern society, the need to belong to a sacred group gets manipulated and abused. Let's say, for example, that you consider yourself a patriotic U.S. American. Go USA. No, wait, I mean really patriotic. USA! Go USA. USA! We know why you have a biological urge to belong, but why the emotional and psychological attachment to a national entity? Why is it a country that you identify with so strongly, not some other social or political group, like a city, or a book club, or a basketball team, or just your family? Where does this national patriotism come from? The short answer is that if you were born in the USA, you've been taught from an early age. If you started school here, then you certainly remember this. Probably no one asked you if you wanted to salute a red striped rag attached to a cheap stick. Probably you didn't even know what allegiance meant. But you knew it was important because that's how you started the day. 5 days a week, for years, standing, hand on heart, reciting something very serious about the United States and God. If we like it, we call it respecting the flag. If we don't like it, we call it indoctrination. In fact, for 50 years, this is exactly how U.S. students said the pledge. with arms extended. But after the Nazis ruined everything, no more stiff-arm salutes, please. Be sure to bend that elbow. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts at parades and Bible camp. And for God's sake, don't let the flag touch the ground. When you got a little older, you were probably instructed to sing a hymn to the flag. That's the national anthem, usually played before sporting events. Do you know the words? Do you know what they mean? In the homeland of the ancient ancestors, knotted together in happiness, people in a single family. Just kidding. That's the anthem of Tuva, today part of Russia. I kind of like that anthem, knotted together in happiness. Here's the U.S. anthem. Did you know that the third verse celebrates slaughtering African American servants and slaves? And the fourth verse praises God for it. Doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel when the song plays and you stand with hundreds or thousands of others, mumbling the words, not thinking, just feeling that warm feeling of belonging to a united, sacred group. You see my point. For some of you, without you even realizing it, the national flag representing USA became part of your religion. It was sacred, it was holy. And a good and decent person saluted it, sang to it, worshipped it. And this, you were told, was patriotism. Does this sound a little like your experience? Okay, next question. Why is this nationalist indoctrination so important? Why do some people insist that you worship the flag? Let's call it compulsory patriotism. Why can't they just leave you alone to choose your own idols? It's because the U.S. government is a military state, which means it makes wars constantly. One way a military state gets people to vote for wars, celebrate wars, participate in war, is to convince them that war is necessary to preserve the sacred group. You may not be willing to kill for your basketball team or your book club. You may not support a war to defend your favorite sugary drink. You are more likely, though, to kill to defend your family. And, if you've been properly indoctrinated, the nation, USA, at an emotional level, USA, has become your extended family. For many U.S. citizens, it comes down to this simple equation. The U.S. flag equals USA. USA equals the U.S. military. The U.S. military equals war against evil. War against evil equals God. Therefore, the U.S. flag equals God. You can understand then why some people go a little nuts if they see someone not obediently worshiping the flag. Especially if the abstainer is an influential black man. What they see in their imagination, in their cosmology, is evil. A threat to their very existence, to everything they've been told is right. Okay, that was the easy part. You already knew all that. Next, I'd like you to use your imagination. Imagine you grew up in the USA without the nationalist indoctrination. No one forced you to pledge allegiance. No one played the national anthem before you played a ball game. No one waved a flag in your face. No one convinced you that the U.S. military is defending you by slaughtering people in faraway countries. No one insisted that someone in a uniform with a gun is automatically a hero. Without all that, without the compulsory patriotism, if they just left you alone to discover and shape your own identity, what would attachment to homeland mean to you? And then, if you said, I love my country, what would you mean by country? What is it that you'd be claiming to love? To what exactly would you feel attached? Maybe some of you want to ask me a slightly different question. Maybe you can't get beyond your indoctrination and you want to shout, "Hey, don't you love your country?" Maybe you still think patriotism means obedience. Here's how I would answer all of those questions. My homeland looks like this, and this, and this, and this. Here's a map of my country. It's a land of mountains, from the Pacific Ocean to the Rockies, from British Columbia in the north to Ensenada in the south. That's my homeland. That's where I've lived most of my life. That's where my people live. That's where I feel an emotional attachment to the land. I've lived in New York and Minnesota and Texas, but I don't belong there. Too flat. I visited Miami one time. That was definitely a foreign country. The beach was facing the wrong way. Professor DeLeo went with me. He didn't like it either. I've also been to Chicago, Washington, D.C., Boston. Lots of fine people there, but they aren't my people. They talk funny. If my homeland had a flag, it might look like this. But my homeland doesn't need a flag. Flags are for armies and indoctrination. Flags are for claiming ownership of territory. I don't own my homeland, and I don't try to keep others out. If my homeland had an anthem, it might sound like a coyote howling. You can hear that almost everywhere you go in my homeland. But my homeland doesn't need an anthem. Anthems are for worship, and I don't worship my homeland. I just live here. So you get the point. Attachment to homeland is an idea in your head and a feeling in your heart. You can allow others to define what your country is and tell you what to love. Or you can tell them, listen, your patriotism is not necessarily my patriotism. Maybe, like me, and like these people, your patriotism really is attachment to your extended family and the neighborhood and the natural environment in which you live. Well, how about it? Are you thinking about defining your own homeland, your own special patriotism? Be careful. Are you sure you're ready to think for yourself? there may be some implications you don't expect. For example, when I was a kid I loved the Olympics, and I always wanted the U.S. athletes to win. This picture is from the 1984 Olympics in LA. I was there. The U.S. team won 83 gold medals. It was thrilling. Since then, I've rejected my nationalist indoctrination. This photo is from the recent Rio Olympics. The man in green beat the man in blue. I couldn't care less. Here's another story. One morning, some years ago, I was out kayaking. A beautiful morning in my homeland, and it seemed like I had the harbor all to myself. No other kayakers, no boat traffic, very quiet. Strangely quiet. Where was everybody? When I got out of the water, I walked by a shop and a television screen caught my eye. The image looked like this. The important people on TV kept saying, "Our country is under attack." It was an awful, tragic day in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. Almost 3,000 people, 3,000 of my fellow human beings were murdered, but it wasn't my homeland that was under attack. Those terrible events were 2,000 miles away from my homeland, farther away from me than Mexico City, for example. It could have been in Paris or Tokyo or Johannesburg. It was a sad day, but it wasn't about me. Now, I'm not telling you how to feel. Maybe you like feeling attached to the USA. USA! Maybe it gives you a sense of meaning, makes you feel better about yourself, sort of like cheering for a winning sports team. But I encourage you to be aware of where that attachment likely came from and where it could possibly lead.